A newlywed husband found dead in a Las Vegas hotel room, his bride covered in blood. That's not a movie plot. It's real, and it happened just 3 days after a fairy tale wedding. Tonight on True Crime Journal, we bring you a story of luxury, lies and betrayal where nothing was what it seemed. What really happened between this beautiful couple in room 2247 at the Bellagio? Stay tuned, because once the truth starts unraveling, it doesn't stop. Before the blood, there was a love story. Malik St. James was 68. A smooth-talking man from Miami with silver hair, expensive taste, and a voice that made people listen. He dressed like old money and moved like he had nothing to prove. Real estate investor, world traveler, millionaire, or so it seemed. Then came Brielle Massey, 26. Raised in College Park, Georgia, where dreams were hard to chase and even harder to keep. She was smart, she was stunning, and she was done with struggle. Brielle had turned herself into a walking brand. Flawless photos, designer outfits, champagne smiles. Online, she looked like she'd already made it. But deep down, she was looking for something more. Security, success, a man who could match her ambition. When Malik and Brielle met in the summer of 2019, it felt like fate. An older man with wealth and wisdom, a younger woman with beauty and drive. They clicked instantly. The chemistry was real. The romance moved fast. And by the end of the year, they were planning a wedding fit for royalty. Something wasn't right. In the fall of 2019, Malik St. James and Brielle Massey became inseparable. The two appeared to be a perfect match, a successful older man with wealth and connections, and a younger woman with ambition and charm. Their relationship moved quickly. Just months after meeting online, Malik proposed. The couple spared no expense planning their wedding. The ceremony was held at a well-known Atlanta church, and the reception took place at one of the city's most luxurious hotels. Guests described the event as grand and extravagant. White roses, a custom gown, live music, and a towering wedding cake. Everything looked perfect on the surface. What the guests didn't know was that Brielle had taken out a $50,000 loan in her name to pay for the wedding. But why? Malik had shown her everything. Luxury cars, a grand home in Coral Gables, expensive dinners, first-class travel. He spoke constantly about international business deals, contracts in Dubai, real estate projects in Miami. His confidence, his presentation, and his lifestyle left little room for doubt. But when it came time to book vendors and secure deposits, Malik claimed his assets were temporarily inaccessible. According to testimony and text records, Malik told Brielle that his money was tied up in an overseas deal, a common delay, he said, in international real estate. He assured her the funds would clear within days, but because deadlines for wedding vendors were approaching, he asked her to handle the payments in the meantime. She agreed. Financial records show that Brielle applied for multiple personal loans in the weeks leading up to the wedding. In total, she secured and spent approximately $50,000 covering the venue, catering, dress, and transportation. After the ceremony, when they began planning the honeymoon, Malik made another request. This time he pointed to the same issue, delayed international funds, and asked Brielle to front the money once more. According to her bank records, she transferred an additional $20,000 from her personal savings to cover the honeymoon costs. She told her cousin, in a later text message, that Malik promised to repay her immediately once his Dubai deal cleared. To those closest to her, it seemed like a sensible compromise, temporary, calculated, and rooted in trust. Malik's presentation of wealth had been consistent for months, and Brielle believed that after the wedding, their finances would become shared anyway. She had no way of knowing the money would never come back. On December 16, 2019, just 2 days after their wedding, Malik St. James and Brielle Massey arrived in Las Vegas for their honeymoon. They checked into the Bellagio Hotel on the Las Vegas Strip, one of the most prestigious resorts in the city. According to hotel records, they booked a top-floor honeymoon suite overlooking the fountains. Room service was ordered. Spa treatments were reserved. Charges began accumulating almost immediately. Staff at the hotel recalled the couple as friendly and high energy. Surveillance footage from the casino floor showed them laughing, posing for photos, and dining at high-end restaurants. On social media, Brielle posted snapshots of their suite, champagne toasts, shopping bags, and selfies with captions like, "Living my best life with my husband." For the first 48 hours, the honeymoon appeared flawless, but behind closed doors, something was unraveling. On the afternoon of December 18th, the third day of their stay, hotel staff reported tension between the couple. One server recalled a heated exchange at a restaurant after a declined credit card. Later that day, multiple staff noted that Malik appeared agitated, spending extended periods on his phone, sometimes in public spaces, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. According to hotel logs, Brielle covered the majority of the hotel charges using her personal credit card that included the room service, entertainment, and luxury shopping expenses. Later, text messages retrieved during the investigation would show that Brielle had begun to question the reality of Malik's finances. In one message to a cousin, she wrote, "He's not who I thought he was." The fairy tale was starting to crack, and within hours it would collapse entirely. December 18th, 2019, evening. Security cameras showed Malik and Brielle entering their suite on the 22nd floor of the Bellagio just before 11 p.m. It was the last time Malik St. James was seen alive. What happened over the next 90 minutes remains the subject of intense legal scrutiny, but what's clear is that something inside that hotel room went terribly wrong. According to police reports, a 911 call was placed from room 2247 at approximately 12:47 a.m. The caller, Brielle Massey, told hotel security that her husband had fallen and hit his head on the corner of a table. She said it was an accident. She said she tried to help. When hotel security arrived minutes later, they found Malik lying face down near the edge of the bed, surrounded by a large pool of blood. A heavy brass table lamp was found near the body, cracked at the base and stained with blood. Brielle was in the corner of the room, still wearing her wedding dress from earlier that day. It too was soaked in blood. According to the report, she was crying and repeating the same phrase, "He fell. He tripped. I tried to help him." But to first responders on the scene, something didn't add up. There were signs of a struggle, furniture out of place, shattered glass from a broken vase on the floor, and multiple impact points on the wall. Paramedics declared Malik St. James dead at the scene. The trauma to his head was severe and extensive. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police were immediately called to the scene, and the hotel suite was sealed as a crime scene. The investigation had begun, and Brielle Massey was no longer a newlywed. She was the sole suspect in a violent, unexplained death. When homicide detectives from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department arrived at the Bellagio, the scene in room 2247 raised immediate red flags. The physical evidence didn't match the story Brielle Massey was telling. She claimed her husband had tripped and fallen during an argument, hitting his head on the corner of a table. But crime scene technicians noted that the blood patterns, the position of the body, and the damage to the lamp suggested something else entirely. Malik had multiple blunt force injuries to the head, face, and shoulders. A preliminary review by the coroner indicated at least 3 distinct impact points, too many for a simple fall. Investigators found the lamp, cracked and bloodied, lying several feet from the body, and beneath the bed, they discovered a hotel towel wrapped around the base, suggesting an attempt to wipe it clean. Then came the timeline. Security footage, showed Brielle in the hallway outside the suite between 12:25 and 12:35 a.m., more than 10 minutes before she called for help. During that time, she appeared to be on the phone, pacing. When she returned to the room, she waited another 12 minutes before alerting hotel staff. In the early morning hours of December 19, 2019, Brielle Massey was interviewed briefly at the scene and then allowed to leave the Bellagio. At the time, detectives were still working to determine whether Malik St. James's death was accidental or something more. Detectives obtained a search warrant for her phone. The messages they uncovered would reshape the case. At 9:47 p.m., hours before the 911 call, Brielle texted her cousin, "I think I married a scammer. This man might be broke for real." An hour later, another message. "He got me for 70K. I'm about to lose it." At 10:58 p.m., "I'm confronting him. I can't do this no more." And finally, at 12:26 a.m., just 1 minute after her return to the room and before she contacted security, she sent, "Something bad happened. Don't ask, just pray." Those messages, combined with the physical evidence, pointed to one conclusion: Malik St. James hadn't fallen. He had been attacked. The autopsy, completed the next day, confirmed it. The coroner listed the cause of death as blunt force trauma to the head, with defensive wounds found on Malik's hands and forearms. The manner of death, homicide. Over the next 48 hours, investigators reviewed hotel surveillance footage, analyzed text messages from Brielle's phone, and received the preliminary autopsy report. The evidence told a different story than the one Brielle had given at the scene. The injuries were too severe, the timeline didn't add up, and the messages to her cousin showed clear signs that a confrontation had been planned. Detectives contacted Brielle and asked her to come in for formal questioning. She agreed. Inside the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, investigators laid out their findings: the photos, the messages, the blood pattern evidence, the forensics. Faced with mounting proof and direct methodical questioning, Brielle eventually broke down. She admitted to striking Malik with the lamp more than once. She said she didn't plan to kill him, only to make him feel what she felt. Her confession was recorded, signed, and added to the case file. She was arrested that same evening and charged with second-degree murder. The trial began 10 months later in Clark County District Court. The prosecution focused on motive, financial loss, betrayal, and rage. The defense argued emotional breakdown and psychological manipulation. Brielle testified in her own defense, admitting to the killing but denying intent. After 3 weeks of testimony and 4 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict: guilty of second-degree murder. Brielle Massey was sentenced to 28 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Following the trial, the story of Brielle Massey and Malik St. James continued to spark debate. To some, it was a cautionary tale about trust, ambition, and the price of ignoring red flags. To others, it was a tragic collision, two people chasing a lifestyle neither one of them could truly afford. The home Malik had lived in, his brother's property in Coral Gables, was sold just months after his death. His brother, who had lived abroad for years, returned briefly to handle Malik's remaining affairs. The BMW, still registered under Malik's late wife's name, was repossessed due to unpaid loans. Most of his belongings were revealed to be fake, borrowed or unpaid. There were at least 6 women across 3 states who later came forward claiming Malik had scammed or misled them financially. None of them pressed charges. Most simply said they wanted to move on. Brielle was transferred to the Nevada Department of Corrections to begin her 28-year sentence. She was 27 years old. The loans she had taken out for the wedding and honeymoon remained unpaid. Her family struggled to cover legal fees and travel expenses throughout the trial. The Instagram account that had once showcased a life of glamour was deactivated by the end of 2020. The damage Malik left behind wasn't just financial, it was emotional. Psychological, G18 found Horan Thredakorid, and permanent. Today, the case stands as a grim reminder. When two people build a relationship on lies, the truth has a way of forcing itself out, sometimes violently. In the end, this was never just a story about a wedding gone wrong. It was about image, about desperation, about two people pretending until one of them couldn't pretend anymore. Malik St. James built a life around illusion. Brielle Marcy invested everything she had into that illusion until it broke her. He paid with his life. She paid with her future. And the people left behind, they paid with silence, grief, and unanswered questions. At True Crime Journal, we don't tell these stories to entertain. We tell them to expose what can happen when ambition outweighs honesty, when love becomes a transaction, and when desperation turns deadly. If this case made you think about who you trust, about what you believe, then we ask just one thing. Like this video, subscribe to True Crime Journal, and join us next time for another story where the truth is stranger and darker than fiction. Until then, stay safe. And remember, sometimes the most dangerous person in your life is the one sleeping beside you.